Elizabeth City, Kitty Hawk, Wilmington, Greenville, and Raleigh.
Town Insurance, the Clement Companies. Call them today at 252-756-8300.
Oh no, is it okay? Is it going to survive?
Is your air conditioning unit in need of some medical attention? Better call the Air Doctor. The Air Doctor can revive your AC and get it back cooling in no time. The Air Doctor services residential and commercial AC units anywhere in eastern North Carolina. And if you call right now, you'll receive 10% off your first service. Call the Air Doctor now for 24/7 emergency service. 252-215-0966. The Air Doctor, your prescription for comfort.
Affordable car care does exist. Meineke in Greenville, Winterville, and Jacksonville is providing affordable auto service for eastern North Carolina. Right now, come and get an oil change for just $19.95. Sign up for a new Meineke credit card. You'll get up to $170 cash back on a set of new Cooper or Mastercraft tires. Buy 3 Monroe shocks or struts, get the 4th free. And 10% off everything for all military, state employees, and ECU and Pitt students. Take your car to Meineke Car Care in Greenville, Winterville, and Jacksonville. Meineke.com. Meineke, on with life.
Turn it up! WRHD HD1, Farmville, Washington, Greenville. Whoa! Your home for the Mark Paschal Morning Show. 94.3 The Game and 94.3thegame.com. It's game time on 94.3 The Game.
There were some things going on in sports today that will make your brain fall out of your skull.
Now, live from our 94.3 The Game studios and streaming online at 943thegame.com, here's your host, Josh Graham.
94.3 The Game. You're tuned in to the Pirate Nation's FM station. Good Wednesday afternoon to you. My name is Josh Graham. John Jansen's the producer of this program. Danielle Beavers here interning. In 15 minutes from the Virginia Tech IMG Sports Network, Mike Burnup will be with us. Mike is in his 34th year with the Virginia Tech Radio Network. His first season was 1983. His broadcast partner doing his first game with Virginia Tech, Jeff Charles, 34 years ago. Andy Bitter at the start of hour number 2. He's been covering Virginia Tech for a long time now with the Roanoke Times. We look forward to catching up with both Mike Burnup and Andy Bitter to talk about East Carolina, Virginia Tech. 12:30 kickoff time on the ACC network on Saturday afternoon. We'll have Andrew Bays pay his weekly visit in about 30 minutes. He will be in here live in studio, the former first-team All-American from ECU. I am in such a good mood today. I can't even explain why. I'm feeling good, John Jansen. I hope you are. Beaming.
I'm beaming, but like...
you're still happy because of the Eagles win from Monday. Still there.
Of course, I'm still there. But a new look, too. Does this have anything to do with how you're feeling? Like the hair, there's a new look to Josh Graham. Like this is what should have been on the billboard.
943thegame.com. You could get the live video and audio stream. I do have a new haircut. I'm feeling great about it. And this just might be the new Josh Graham. Shout out to my girl Chrissy Clark hooking me up today. It might be, actually, this is the start of a complete overhaul. I don't want to get off on this, but had some friends go through the closet last night telling me what works, what needs to go. Let's just say my rotation of outfits has just gotten a lot shorter when it comes to the shoes and socks, pants, even shirts. It's a good thing to do. I think everyone has that moment where you just sure things up and cut from your rotation. Sure up your roster. Not everyone can make the 53-man when it comes to your wardrobe. See, John, what's your ideal rotation of shirts look like? What's your ideal clothing rotation? What is it?
Well, it usually involves a lot of free East Carolina shirts because
like the one you're wearing.
That is all I own. That is my entire wardrobe from any pair of clothing, any article of clothing I have, at least shirts. They're probably a free East Carolina shirt.
You don't have any out of rotation shirts?
No, I don't have anything like that. If I own it, I wear it.
We should have a week where we just designate out of rotation shirt day, or every week, or one day throughout the week, where you just wear a shirt that's just out of the rotation, and you try to describe why that shirt is no longer in the rotation. because you'll find some bad stuff. Like last night, I went through some of the clothes that I had. Not great.
Like what though?
I
Like,
think
what wasn't
one had
great?
a nice little like a Japanese tree coming up the side of it, and it was like a blue shirt. It was like a button up, but it felt good at the time that I purchased it, but it just doesn't.
Why did you
it was
ever
very,
own that?
It was circa 2006, 2007 that was cool. No longer is.
Never was.
But no, what should the ideal? See, we have Danielle is our lady in the studio here, and I assume it's a lot different for girls. What's the outfit rotation? Like, I mean, how many different outfits do you have in your rotation? Because for me, I think I've narrowed it down for work and professional settings to maybe 4, maybe 5.
Well, I don't really get to wear normal clothes every day, so I have to wear dance clothes. I have a rotation of leotards for ballet.
How many? What's that rotation?
Probably 5.
Okay.
And they stay pretty consistent in the same pattern of
how many
I wear
shoes?
I have a lot, but I only wear about 3.
See, yeah, that's a good thing. I have a ton of shoes too, but some of them never see the light of day. I'm usually rotating, like, you have a good pair of brown shoes, have a backup pair of brown shoes, black shoe. You have to have a black dress shoe, some gym shoes. Outside of that, what are we talking about? My Sperry's are all worn out. Can't wear those anymore.
That's all I wear, Sperry's. I used to wear sneakers all the time, and then I started wearing Sperry's, and I realized how awesome they are and comfortable. So I usually just wear them.
In 10 minutes, we will be joined by Mike Burnop with the Virginia Tech Radio Network. You're tuned in to Game Time, 94.3 The Game. If you want to call in on any of the scintillating subject matter, 252-561-4263, 252-561-4263. We have ECU practice audio we need to get to now, where East Carolina is getting set for Virginia Tech. We had a chance to catch up with a lot of ECU offensive players and coaches. The head coach of the Pirates, Scotty Montgomery, had his installation day for Virginia Tech, and here's what he had to say in terms of how the Pirates are preparing for the Hokies.
The first thing we talked about today was a little bit more. That was the winning edge for the day when we talked to the team before we went out. A little bit more. Our collective habits today was the best we've had. Running on and off the field, the details, the little things. We had a great little things practice.
With this weather, does it help with ball protection because the ball's a little slippery?
You know it does. We spent a lot of time on that today. I think it was a blessing to be able to be out there in the rain. Spent about 15 minutes today on just ball security. And that's not just carrying the football a certain way, but also receivers being in the proper alignment and blocking to make sure guys are not shooting inside on us, getting hits on the ball, all those things. Had a great day of work today.
After South Carolina, you mentioned all the mistakes. They were fixable mistakes. How do you feel like that progress is coming?
Well, we probably got about 50% of it fixed. We need another hard day of work to get the rest of it kind of nailed down. Our guys understand the problems. I think our coaches did a good job of communicating the problems and the issues and how you fix them. We went out today, like I said, collective habits today were great. Ball was high and tight. Our defense was, they created some turnovers on the show team, caught the ball well. We didn't drop that interception that we dropped. We cut off blocks, and we did a lot of things.
That's the head coach of the Pirates, Scotty Montgomery, at ECU football practice yesterday. Staying with the coach, Zay Jones had 22 grabs on Saturday. A lot of people obviously look at those numbers and will try to key in on him. How much do you have to disguise him now that he had a game like that facing a secondary like Virginia Tech, Coach?
The thing about, Zay is that you don't have to disguise it because he knows every position. You have to disguise receivers that can only play the X position or the inside position because you can get schemed. But when he comes out in a different spot every play, you don't really have to disguise it very much. And then when they do want to take him away, whether he's inside or outside, we got guys underneath, and Jimmy Williams down the sideline or underneath, Quay that's underneath. DeAndre Mason plays for us. So those guys can eat too when he's taking 2 off the top.
You're tuned in to Game Time, 94.3 The Game, hearing from ECU coaches and players. That was Scotty Montgomery yesterday at ECU football practice. If you want to hear all the audio from Coach Bell and players in whole, you can subscribe to the 94.3 The Game page on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. The wide receivers coach staying with Zay Jones is Phil McGagan. He's coached NFL wide receivers like Jarvis Landry with the Miami Dolphins and Greg Jennings and several others. He's been at the collegiate level too with South Florida, played in the NFL as a receiver, even on the same team as Scotty Montgomery. I was interested to get his thoughts on what Zay Jones did last week. Our Mackenzie Tewksbury and Pat Jones had this conversation with him yesterday.
So what specifically impressed you the most about Zay last week?
Just the competitive nature, how he approached the opportunity to go out there and compete at South Carolina. It was just his whole mindset and the attitude that he had to go out there and compete at the highest level. And he pushed himself through fatigue and played 97 snaps, which is a lot of football in those elements, and against good competition. And I was just impressed with his level of output throughout the day.
And where does he kind of line up with the other receivers you've coached?
He's right up there. I mean, as far as intelligence, route craft, competitiveness, toughness, practice habits, play speed, all the things that you're looking for, critical factors. He has all those, so I'm very excited about his future.
At what point did you kind of realize that, man, he's doing something special?
I didn't know it was that many until after the game was over, because you're just kind of in the fire and you're going, you're competing, you're coaching. And I got 8 guys, and I'm trying to get everybody situated. But then, I figured he had, we kept catching the ball and we were 2-minute situations. Figured he had something going pretty well. I didn't know it was 22, but you knew that he was catching the ball and he was executing the game plan that Tony had put together, and it was just one of those special Saturdays from an individual effort standpoint.
That was ECU wide receivers coach Phil McGagan yesterday at ECU football practice. The player they're talking about is Zay Jones. He was 1 catch shy of tying the NCAA record, 4 catches, but he broke the school record that was set by Justin Hardy with 17. Zay Jones talked about breaking that record when we caught up with him yesterday.
It's really humbling. I'm grateful for it. I couldn't be happier with my team helping me get that, but it's special. But you got to move on, because the catches that I made last week carry over to this week.
Did Justin say anything to you?
Yeah, I texted Justin. He congratulated me. I'm sure he was happy for me. I don't know if he was upset about it, but I talked to him and then I congratulated him on his touchdown.
That's Zay Jones. Big weekend for ECU wide receivers. Obviously, with the 22 catches from Zay Jones and Justin Hardy getting his first career NFL touchdown against the Oakland Raiders. This defense, though, is legit. Bud Foster is maybe one of the best defensive coordinators in the history of college football. I'll go as far to say that, because you're talking about tenure and staying in the same role. Most times when you have a great coordinator, they move on and go somewhere else. But Foster has not done that, and he's been terrific. Zay Jones realizes this, and he sees an experienced secondary. Here was his assessment about the defense he's going to face this weekend.
They're solid. They're a great football team. They've been in this system for quite some time. They have seniors in their secondary. Chuck Clark, Brandon Faison, those guys are all good. They've played since they're freshmen, so they know what they're doing, and this is going to be a great challenge for us this week.
The Graham View today is going to be pretty somber, where you have these police killings. We'll get there, and that's been a subject in the sports realm as well, with Cam Newton speaking out today, Colin Kaepernick obviously kneeling down during the anthem prior to this recent run of police killings. So we will talk about that later on and bring you the audio from Cam Newton during our Graham View today. But ECU gets set for Virginia Tech. We'll have Mike Burnop in just a couple of minutes. Going back to the fashion, though, to start things out. See, I'm feeling good. I don't want to get bummed out. I have the new look, as John noticed, and I think that is playing a part to me having being in a good mood. But speaking of the rotation and such, I'm interested. Is it what do people notice first? Is it the shoes or your hair? What's a more noticeable thing that can make a better impression? What can you make a better impression with? Your hair or your shoes?
I would say hair. I mean, when you look at somebody, that's the first thing you see, right? Their face and then
I don't know.
Hair.
Danielle, care to comment?
I would say hair.
I would say hair. It means you're groomed.
But the shoes, though,
right?
But shoes can make such a good impression. If you don't have the right shoes on, you can learn more about someone's shoes than their hair. I'll go as far as
I agree with Danielle. Like if your hair's all groomed and looking good, that means you're keeping up with yourself and you're staying fresh.
Put that on the poll at 943 the game. What can you make a bigger impression with? Your shoes are a big. What can you make a bigger first impression with? Your shoes or your hair? At 943 the game on Twitter to vote on this. We will get to Mike Burnop with the Virginia Tech Radio Network on the other side of the timeout. We're just getting underway on a Wednesday edition of Game Time.
Here's Chip Davis of East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Greenville.
Fall is a great time to be at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep. Been thinking about buying a new truck this year? It's Ram Power Days at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep. You've got to see our great selection of new Ram trucks. Buy a new Ram now and get 20% off MSRP. Come in now for the best selection.
East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep has over 100 new Rams in stock. And if you're looking for an SUV, you'll need to check out the great selection of Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Wrangler, Patriot, and more.
Celebrate the fall with a new Jeep. Jeep is America's hottest brand, and we've got the region's largest selection of new Jeeps here at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep. It's a Jeep celebration event. Buy now and get 20% off MSRP on a new Jeep Cherokee. East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
Can see it!
Across from the Cracker Barrel in Greenville.
Customer must qualify for all rebates. See dealer for details.
There's something brand new for local swimmers. Aquaventure is now open at their Winterville campus just off Memorial Drive behind Badcock Furniture. Aquaventure is an indoor saltwater complex with an Olympic-sized swimming pool with 8 lanes. Aquaventure, the place for water sports, instruction, and aqua exercise. This fabulous new cutting-edge facility is now open. Join now by calling 341-9959 or visit Aquaventure at 214A Beacon Drive just off Memorial Drive. Aquaventure, an exciting new water campus. Aquaventure is now open.
Are you 50 years old? Have you had a colonoscopy? Colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths. What makes this so horrible is that colon cancer is easily preventable. Carolina Digestive Diseases and Endoscopy Center wants you to know that a colonoscopy can save your life. Dr. Philip Goldstein and the staff at Carolina Digestive Diseases offer treatment and care for all your GI needs. Carolina Digestive Diseases is a private practice focused on keeping costs down for their patients. They file all insurances, have an on-site endoscopy center, and in-house pathology for quick turnaround. The office is conveniently located on W.H. Smith Boulevard, and you can park next to the front door. Dr. Goldstein is dual board certified in internal medicine and gastroenterology and offers appointments within 5 business days.
Hi, this is Dr. Philip Goldstein reminding you that a colonoscopy can save your life. Visit our website, cddgastro.com, and come see us at Carolina Digestive Diseases.
Looking for great prices on gas and snacks and a friendly smile? Well, you'll see your neighbors at both Country Mart locations in Pitt County. And if you need ethanol-free premium gas for your small engines, Country Mart has that too. And check out Smitty's Restaurant at the Bethel store for everyday lunch specials and breakfast, including their famous cheese biscuits. The Stokes location is serving up great food every day too. Now home of Gulf Products. Country Mart, Highway 11 between Greenville and Bethel, and Highway 903 in Stokes.
Just getting started on a Wednesday edition of Game Time. 94.3 The Game, the Pirate Nation's FM station. Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times will join us at the start of hour number 2. Former ECU All-American Andrew Bays in just a little bit. And a reminder, tomorrow's show will feature American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Oresco, and former ECU coach Steve Logan will make his weekly visit. But now we go to our 94.3 The Game live line. In his 34th year with the Virginia Tech Radio Network, it's Mike Burnop. He's the color analyst on the Virginia Tech IMG Sports Network. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're doing well. I gotta note this because you started, was it 1983, your first season with Virginia Tech?
Yeah, well, your guy and our guy, Jeff Charles. How about that?
Yeah, Jeff Charles was your play-by-play man. I'm wondering, what memories do you have that stick out with Jeff working together for those 5 years?
Well, I can remember when he came here with Bill Dooley. Bill Dooley hired him to be his radio, TV, sports marketing, promotions, the whole ball of wax, which now there'd probably be a staff of 15 or 20 people doing what Jeff did all by himself. So he was a man on a mission, and we had a lot of radio stations back then. And he called me out of the blue one day and said he'd always had an ex-player do his color. And so we met, talked, did all that kind of stuff. And basically, make a long story short, he said, how did he put it? He said, I know you have no experience, but I'm willing to take a chance on you if you want to do it. So that's how I got started into it. And a little quick story. So Virginia Tech is opening up against Wake Forest in the first game. Well, the week before that, Wake Forest is playing a home game against Appalachian State. So Jeff says, how about we go down and do that game, and then we'll listen to it on the way home, and then when we start next week, we'll know a little bit about Wake Forest, and we'll know a little bit about how we get along together on the air. So we did, sat on top of the press box in Winston-Salem, called the game on a Marantz recorder, which probably was way before your time, and called the game, listened to it on the way home, and he gave me some pointers, and the next week we went live. So that's kind of the long and short story of starting with Jeff Charles back in the day.
That's interesting to me, though, Mike, because I don't think a lot of people understand now. Usually you have a national radio team, the local radio teams, and they're exclusive. But back then, if you were a radio station, you'd bring your own guys to the game, right?
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, there was a rights holder to the network, but when Jeff came in and Bill Dooley was the AD, he kind of controlled everything. And so he hired Jeff to do it all, and Jeff did it, and did a heck of a job for 5 years. And then Virginia Tech's loss was East Carolina's gain. So he's been down there ever since, and I've been here ever since. So love Jeffrey. Can't wait to see him. I told him the other night when I was talking to him that, you'll be in the booth beside me. You're not going to be sitting beside me on the air, but you'll be in the booth right next to me. So that's the next best thing. It's always great to see him.
And yeah, he's certainly beloved down here as well. He told me before he was at Virginia Tech, he was at Illinois, and there would be 6 or 7 radio teams there before you had the rights holders and all of that work in that we have today. We're being joined by Mike Burnop in his 34th year with the Virginia Tech IMG Sports Network. That's what it's called now in that distinction, obviously. But we had David Teal on yesterday with the Daily Press, and he said he wouldn't call ECU Virginia Tech a rivalry, even though both sides play so often, and he cited the element that both teams seem to be very friendly with each other, whether it was the relationship between Terry Holland and Virginia Tech or just obviously what took place in 2007 with East Carolina, being so grateful to the people of Virginia Tech and helpful when they had the shooting earlier that spring. These teams seem to be so friendly, but they play so often out of conference. How do you view this series between the Pirates and the Hokies?
Well, I think it's a great series. I think our fans have a great respect and admiration for what East Carolina has been able to do and has done and won consistently over the years. And the way they draw fans, I mean, it's very similar there to the Pirate Nation and the Hokie Nation. I mean, they love their team, and they come out and support them. And it's one of the fun trips that our fans have, especially our fans down in the 757, the Tidewater area, that can get there fairly quick. So it's a good rivalry. Obviously, for Virginia Tech, the conference games mean more. And that was a point that Coach Fuente obviously made with the team after the Tennessee game. Win or lose Tennessee, this was before the game and even before the season started. It's a huge game. It's going to be a huge stage and all that sort of thing. But win or lose Tennessee, the most important game is Boston College because it's our first conference game. So that's kind of the way they feel about it here. But obviously they know that East Carolina has great players, tremendous offense. It's going to be a heck of a challenge. And they're looking forward to it, obviously, having them back in our backyard.
Like Frank Beamer, you played for Virginia Tech. I think that you still own the single season record for receptions as a tight end at Virginia Tech. And I want to know, when it comes to those two, Shane Beamer and Frank Beamer, I've talked to them a couple of times, and actually with Shane Beamer, his name was a part of the ECU coaching search last fall for a brief segment, and he talked about how special a place Greenville was, and that always interested me, why they felt that way. Where does this respect and this reverence for this area come from, not just for those two, but seemingly for Virginia Tech fans and people who played for Virginia Tech?
Well, I think, again, it goes back to there's so much similarity between what goes on in Greenville and what goes on in Blacksburg. I mean,
Right.
you think about the fan support that they have, the tailgating that goes on, how they love their team, they get into it, and stadium's always full. I think it's similar in that regard. And they realize how good a team they have and have had and been consistently good over the years. I think a lot of people here are still in shock that Ruffin's not there.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was a great coach and a tremendous match. But obviously Scotty Montgomery's come in and given him a new element, some new life, and so I think it's all good.
And especially for the older players, how much do you think this game means to them, considering how the last 2 years have gone in this series?
I think it's important to them. They realize what happened last year. It's kind of funny. I'll never forget last year after the way the game started. It was 14-0 halfway through the first quarter. And I can remember in the post game, and then East Carolina ran off 28 straight points. What a miserable day that was in terms of weather. But I remember they ran off the 28 straight points. It was kind of funny. I was in the locker room with Coach Beamer after the game, and he was so disappointed in that. He said it used to be around here when we had a 14-point lead, we were like golden, and that wasn't the case. And I know Bud Foster has struggled with that defense the last couple of years with injuries and plugging people in. And, last year we lost, I guess, 2 or 3 of the cornerbacks. Kendall Fuller didn't play. Brandon Faison didn't play. And he was just plugging holes in the dam last year as we went through the season. And, the defense kind of got exposed a little bit. So I think now that they're healthy and everybody's excited about the game, excited about the challenge of playing against that great offense.
Mike Burnop with the Virginia Tech IMG Sports Network is with us on Game Time, 94.3 The Game. You mentioned Coach Beamer last year. Now you have a new head coach in that ECU is familiar with just for following the American Athletic Conference and the success that Justin Fuente had at the University of Memphis. But as someone who spent so much time with Coach Beamer and now is spending time with Justin Fuente, it's obvious the offensive side of the ball from an X's and O standpoint is where you can see a lot of the differences. But aside from that and how he runs the program, what kind of stamp have you already noticed Justin Fuente implement at Virginia Tech?
Well, I think there's a lot more running and practice through the spring and through two-a-days. Coach Beamer really didn't have two-a-day practices because he wanted to kind of save the kids' legs. I think there's been more contact in the practices. I think they're faster paced. There's no standing around. Just a case in point of that is that they don't do any post-practice sprints or any running at all because the practices are so fast-paced and, wide open, just quick. I mean, they'll have 20, 25 periods in a practice, and a lot of them are just 5-minute periods, but, I mean, it's constant running, so they do no extra conditioning work. So that's clearly different. And I think, the contact in the season probably is a little bit more than Coach Beamer did, but, he's on a mission, obviously, because he wants to get his system installed, and the way the rules are nowadays with limited spring practice, limited contact in the summertime with the kids, that you got to kind of do it quick when you can do it within the framework of the rules. And so it has been fast-paced, and I think the kids enjoy it. He was unhappy with the way they practiced the week leading up to Tennessee, and it kind of showed in the game. They didn't play well after the first quarter. So I think he got their attention last week because obviously playing against BC in a first conference game, they were kind of dialed in last week.
Last thing for Mike Burnop of the Virginia Tech Radio Network. You mentioned a couple times the Tennessee game. As someone who's into broadcasting and does it for a living, I always look at things from the framework of the broadcasters sometimes. And when I was watching the game at Bristol Motor Speedway, all I could think is, how the heck do you guys see what's going on during this game? I mean, what was the oddest part as someone trying to do your job in broadcasting a game, but doing so at a big-time motor speedway?
A lot of things were different and weird. We were actually right beside the ESPN broadcast. Kirk Herbstreit, I could have kind of touched him through the window because he was right next to me. So we were on about the 20-yard line looking down on the field, which was pretty far away. And then what was the challenge was the opposite end of the field, kind of near where our locker room was. We were behind our bench, but on the opposite end of the field, you had no idea, where the ball was, who caught it. It was just so far away. And I think the windows may have been tinted just a little bit because obviously NASCAR's race most of the time during the day, and so they probably tint those windows just a little bit, so it was kind of dark. that you couldn't see maybe as good as you would have hoped. And the other thing was you know, it's all fixed glass in there because NASCAR, you know, is so loud that you really didn't have a perspective about how loud the crowd was. So that was kind of weird and different. But what a spectacle, man. I'm telling you, that thing was incredible, seeing the RVs and the people and the colors, and it was incredible. It was like a carnival, like a NASCAR race, a football game, and Woodstock all rolled into one. It was something to see. Unbelievable. And beer everywhere. It was quite the spectacle. And it was fun to be a part of it, no question about it.
Mike, we appreciate you squeezing in time for us. We'll see you out at the stadium Saturday, okay?
Yeah, look forward to it. Welcome you guys. We're going to have great weather, too, and it's going to be a fast track, and it should be fun to watch. It's going to be a lot of fireworks out there Saturday.
That's what we like to hear. Thanks again. That's Mike Burnup with the Virginia Tech Radio Network in his 34th year with the Virginia Tech Sports Network. If you missed it at the top of the interview, his first broadcast was in 1983 with the Hokies. His play-by-play man, Jeff Charles. Spent 5 years at Virginia Tech, Jeff did. Then he went to East Carolina, and in year 29, here's Jeff Charles at East Carolina University. So we're excited for this game. 12:30 kickoff time. Our next guest is excited about it as well. I know it. Andrew Bays, first-team All-American from ECU, makes his weekly visit on Game Time when we return after the break.
For years, Callie Ann Phelps has been singing about Phelps Chevrolet.
Phelps Chevrolet is the one for you. Low prices, service too. See the big dealer right away. Carolina's finest, Phelps Chevrolet.
And you'll agree with what Skylar Phelps has to say.
Nobody beats Phelps Chevrolet's prices. Nobody.
The name you can depend on. Phelps Chevrolet.
Get you one.
Find new roads with Chevrolet. Then come find yours at Phelps Chevrolet in Greenville.
What's your most important document? The McGrath proposal.
Olivia's adoption papers.
This week, a paid invoice. Documents are who we are and what we do. With intelligent printers and MFPs, customized apps and services, Kyocera Document Solutions helps companies capture, distribute, and manage the many documents that matter. Because if the document is important,
My winning business plan.
the company is important.
Caraway Office Solutions has been a leading provider of high-quality business technology and services since 1963. Caraway Office Solutions provides Kyocera printers, MFPs, and personalized support that is unmatched. Let your friend Bernie Caraway at Caraway Office Solutions connect you to a different way of doing business. Come to Caraway Office Solutions for the total solution you need to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Call 752-4661 or visit www.cosnc.com.
Chico's Mexican Restaurant is the home of the best margaritas. Grab your amigos and head to Chico's every Tuesday for the Gulp of Mexico, a huge 46-ounce lime margarita for only $6.99. On Thursdays, relax and enjoy half-price pitchers of Chico's house margaritas. Choose from lime, strawberry, blood orange, raspberry, or peach. For Mexican food and fun, it's got to be Chico's Mexican Restaurant in downtown Greenville and online at chicosrestaurant.com. Chico's, where the fiesta never ends.
The nation's largest Verizon premium retailer, Cellular Sales, is proud to announce the grand opening celebration of its new Tarboro location on Thursday, September 29th. Come take advantage of the special grand opening deals being offered all throughout the day. Enjoy snacks from Jimmy John's, and 94.3 The Game will be live on location. The new Tarboro Cellular Sales is located on Highway 258 in the Tarboro Walmart Shopping Center. Learn more at cellularsales.com.
This is Dorson White, Senior Vice President for First South Bank. At First South, we believe in community banking that truly puts you first. I do that by helping you ask the right questions so I can tailor the best solutions for your business or your financial goals. When I know where you're headed, I can help you get there. First South Bank, the home of You First Banking, firstsouthnc.com, member FDIC.
You're tuned in to Game Time, 94.3 The Game. We are the Pirate Nation's FM station. If you miss any of the show, the Best of podcast is a good way to catch up on what happened throughout the 2 hours. We don't give you the crap. We just give you the best hour. That's what we do. And, you could catch all the interviews, including Mike Burnup, who we just had last segment. In 30 minutes, we'll have Andy Bitter join us. If you want to call in, 252-561-4263 is the way to do that. 252-561-4263. And now we welcome in another guest. Andrew Bays, first team All-American from ECU. What's going on, man?
How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Yeah, you had a fun weekend?
Yeah.
Traveling all over North Carolina and South Carolina.
South Carolina with ECU and South Carolina. The Pirates fell, unfortunately, 20-15. And then the Panthers got the win, 46-27. Yeah. And it's going to be a similar weekend this weekend. Going to do, actually, high school football. For those who may follow the Washington high school football team, that game's moved to Monday. So tomorrow's game's on Monday. So I'll have Saturday at Virginia Tech, Sunday for the Panthers, and then they play the Vikings this week, and then Monday football.
It's outstanding.
It's a lot of fun. So what have you been up to, man?
Oh, just disappointed in what happened this weekend. You know, I think Coach Logan did Coach Logan jinx us? Did he jinx us? He was spinning praise to Philip Nelson about protecting the football, and then next thing you know, we've got turnovers.
He may have did the same thing to Blaine Gabbert as well. But on Saturday, I was on with Coach Logan on his show, and I brought up the fact ECU in its last meeting drove down the field and inside the 10-yard line got 6 points instead of 14, and on the ensuing drive, South Carolina scored, and the momentum was back with them. And I brought up the fact that if you don't capitalize in those type of environments inside the red zone, you can lose like that. But I was stunned. I said it earlier this week. I'd rather, if I was an East Carolina fan, I'd rather have the game end like it did on Saturday than for what we saw in the first 7 minutes to continue.
Oh, yeah.
Because the former has ECU being a better football team.
Right.
They were the better football team on Saturday. It's a non-conference game when it's all said and done. ECU, I don't think, had in its realistic expectations to be any kind of a top 25 playoff buster this year with a new coach. So I think it's good. They won't claim to have any moral victories, but to play that way and be the better team against South Carolina, I think means something.
No, absolutely. And considering everything that happened with 8 trips inside the 20 or 9 trips inside the 20,
six,
yeah, with however many points,
two for 6, 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, 2 interceptions, a missed field goal, and a fumble.
Yeah, I mean, to withstand all of that and still be in the game at the end, that's a testament to the coaching. That's a testament to the team playing hard. Usually in that type of environment, you turn the ball over like that, deep in the red zone, 1 yard line, and in the end zone, those can be crushers to the mentality of a team. And that team held in there. Coaching staff kept them in there. There's not, we talk about it all the time, there's no moral victories, but you have a lot to grow on, going into another hostile environment in Virginia Tech. Now, you were there in Columbia. What was the environment like on those red zone trips?
It was festive. It was loud. And obviously it had a snowball effect after the first 2 or so didn't convert.
Right.
And they sensed that, hey, this team may have that in the back of their minds.
Right.
And it had one of those effects on East Carolina, I think. But I don't think the environment affected ECU. 17-0 the score early in the game wasn't because of the crowd. It was a special teams play and then ECU's inability to defend the read option, which we saw a little bit against NC State, but really reared its head early on. I'll give the Pirates credit, though. They adjusted in a major way to Brandon McElwain and how they guarded the read option. But to answer your question, the crowd was loud, but I thought East Carolina was prepared for it.
Yeah. No, that's a big step for them. Going, you obviously put that week behind you, roll into this week. You've got, I think it was a good primer for this week at Virginia Tech. It's another hostile environment. It's a very loud place in Blacksburg, and I think they'll be ready to go.
We'll get to that game in a second. You're listening to Game Time, 94.3 The Game, the Pirate Nation's FM station. Poll questions up. We have poll questions to update from yesterday's show. Danielle Beaver is our intern. So, Danielle, what do we have up today? And then we'll get to Friday.
All right, our poll question for today was, what can you make a bigger first impression with? And 71% say your hair over your shoes.
Andrew?
Hey, man, doesn't it matter on male or female? I mean,
that's a good point. That's a good point. I think it's different for girls.
Yeah.
If it's hair or shoes for girls, I probably lean towards hair too.
Yeah, they would. I think women would lean towards hair.
But shoes do make a big difference. Okay, so that's today's. What do you have yesterday?
Is Carson Wentz Kevin Durant? 51 said no. 51%.
Wow, that stayed close. 51%. How many people voted on that poll?
120.
Yeah.
What's the context? I missed this one.
Okay, so there was Peter Schrager is a Fox Sports reporter, and he said that he compared what the Browns did trading that draft pick to Greg Oden and Kevin Durant, and he said if Jared Goff's a bust, he's Greg Oden.
Right.
The Browns passed on Kevin Durant.
Right. Well, listen, I was talking to my brother who lives in the Philly area just today about this topic. I've never heard a franchise like gush over someone as much as this franchise, including the owner, the GM, all the coaches gushing over this quarterback.
And your reaction is?
It's amazing. I haven't seen it yet. I saw a guy that didn't throw for a lot of yards this week.
No.
Yes, he's athletic. Yes, he's gifted. He can throw football. He can understand the pro-style offense a lot easier than a guy like Jared Goff can. But it remains to be seen. But it just blows my mind how this guy, played one preseason game, and all of a sudden we've got, Ron Jaworski on our hands.
John Jansen is a big Eagles fan, and we started yesterday's show. I said, hey, you're feeling pretty good, aren't you? And he had package. Like, he was driving into the building. He's like, I'm going to say this on the radio. I'm going to say it. And he just said, like, it didn't even make sense in the conversational tone that you try to have on radio back and forth. He just said, Carson Wentz is going to be a top 5 quarterback in 2 years. Just, like, blurted it out. Like, it came out of him in such a way.
So are you all in on the Carson Wentz stitched jersey, or are you buying the T-shirt right now?
No, I would go with the stitched jersey.
How long? Oh, you are.
I'd go with the stitched jersey now.
That's breaking news here.
That is.
Wow. All right. What else do we have on the poll, Danielle?
Are supermodels considered celebrities? 67% said yes.
John Jansen didn't know who Gisele Bundchen is, and he says that that's the normal, that's the right side. That most people don't know who that is. You know who Gisele is?
Absolutely, she's a celebrity. I would say she's a celebrity. I would say most supermodels are celebrities.
To revisit another poll that we had, whose house is it? Tom's or Gisele's?
I think she's the big time breadwinner in that family. Absolutely. That
I
would
agree.
Be her house.
I agree. All right. Anything else?
I wasn't here for this one, and I don't want to know the context, but it says, is removing articles of clothing over the line? 74% said no.
It was fandom, where like we pulled out a list. There was a fan who broke a window celebrating a Georgia touchdown. I said that was like John, how he was reacting.
Yeah.
So we went down the list. Okay, damaging property, that's too far.
Right.
It's too far to
damage. What about damaging your own property?
Well, yeah, that's still too far. You shouldn't do that.
That's more fandom than
it's not
taking
great.
off your clothes. Though.
It's not great. So we said removing articles of clothing, and that's kind of where the line was drawn. He said there's specific games where he wouldn't remove articles of clothing for a win over the Bears, but the Eagles play the Steelers this week. He said that's an article removing game.
Yeah, I think that would be a candidate for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
A win over the Steelers, I think.
252-561-4263 if you care to chime in. Once again, on these hard-hitting subjects. In 5 minutes, we will certainly hit on that. And the Grand View, the subject of that are these police killings. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, Virginia Tech ECU, before we hit that break, you played Virginia Tech in school, and you had, I think it was 2 losses. I'm interested in this, though. Frank Beamer was obviously the coach of Virginia Tech at the time. Matt Dodge was on our show yesterday, another punter from ECU, made it into the National Football League. Here's what Matt Dodge had to say on Beamer Ball in yesterday's show.
That was my first game, and if you remember anything, Beamer Ball was huge. Just the number of punts that they would block and kicks that they would block. So leading up to that game, I remember having Coach Holtz about a foot away from me with a stopwatch, just yelling, "Get it off, get it off, get it off." So that was pretty nerve-wracking.
What do you remember of preparing for Beamer Ball and Virginia Tech?
Yeah, it went hand in hand from my tenure, my 4 years at ECU, went hand in hand with games against Miami. So I had multiple games against Miami, multiple games against Virginia Tech, both of which come after kicks incredibly. The talent on the field is incredible. So Logan is very similar to how Matt described Holtz. Logan would stand right behind me with a stopwatch. And no matter if, I caught the ball and got it off in record time, he would still be, that's not fast enough. That's not fast enough. That's not fast enough. So it would be ingrained in you throughout the entire week leading up to the game. Basically, he wanted you to forget everything about a form of kicking a football or punting a football, and he wanted to concentrate on just getting the ball off. Just catch it and go. Just catch it and go. And we actually did well as a punt team. We did well against Virginia Tech. We didn't have any punts blocked, but we did have a field goal blocked. And that's a completely different beast in practicing because there's so many more mechanics that go into that. So there's a lot more time have to be given inside, working on field goals or extra points because they can steal one on a field goal very easily. One person breaks down, just a fraction of a second. If you've got a backup tight end who just had to play a series and he's on the end of the line of scrimmage on an extra point and his mind is kind of just out of it just for a split second. That's what Beamer Ball is all about. Beamer knows that. He dials into it. He knows the personnel that was coming in and off the field. He knew the guys that maybe were on the field for an excessive period of time, especially on a punt block. If he saw a backup or even a starter who was all of a sudden on punt protection, he'd go after that guy because he knew the likelihood of that guy maybe loafing on that play was pretty high.
Yeah. Andrew Bays is with us, former ECU punter. John Jansen, before we hit a break, we need to get a look at sports. John does it every show, twice per hour. He loathes doing so, but we do it anyway. Here's John with sports.
Sports news. Everyone, a little breaking news for you.
Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson will have surgery Thursday morning to repair his torn meniscus. Peterson, who was injured Sunday, told ESPN that he has a bucket handle tear of the meniscus, which typically has a minimum recovery time of 3 to 4 months. And the Cleveland Browns are aware of an arrest warrant issued for wide receiver Josh Gordon in a paternity case. The Browns said Gordon and his attorney are working with the county courts to resolve this matter. And over to Major League Baseball scores this afternoon. Rockies right now have 11-1 lead over the Cardinals in the bottom of the 8th. The Athletics are losing to the Astros 5-2 in the top of the 7th, and the Mariners hold a 1-0 lead over the Blue Jays in the top of the 7th. And that's your sports update.
Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times joins us in 15 minutes to continue talking ECU Virginia Tech. Andrew Bays will be with us in studio as well. The grand views on the other side of the break on Game Time.
Pirate Nation at Fantastic Sam's Hair Salon, we are ready when you are. Whether you're headed to the big game or a meeting, you'll need to turn heads with a haircut from Fantastic Sam's. You'll never need an appointment, and your shampoo and scalp massage are included. Our expert stylists are ready when you are. 11 locations in eastern North Carolina with 3 locations in Greenville. Visit us online at fantasticsams.com. That's fantasticsams.com. Go Pirates!
Hey folks, Coach Logan here. Whether you call it chicken and dumplings, chicken and noodles, or chicken and pastry, where I come from, it's called delicious. And I'm telling you now, get the red and yellow box of Ann's dumplings and a jar of Ann's chicken base, and the next thing you know, you've got a delicious pot of comfort food to warm you up on a cold night. There's nothing better. All of Ann's dumplings products make good cooks, great cooks. So go to Piggly Wiggly, Walmart Superstore, or better yet, go to annsdumplings.com for all of Ann's taste like homemade products.
This is Greg Gardner with Winter Chevrolet. We have a great selection of new Chevrolets and certified pre-owned vehicles for your choosing, from fuel-efficient cars and family-friendly SUVs to trucks ready to help you work or play. When you're in the market for an automobile, you owe it to yourself to experience a relaxed atmosphere at Winter Chevrolet. Find out why your friends and neighbors keep coming back to us for sales and service. Enjoy our certified service where you're recognized by name and face, not a number. Chevy runs deep at Winter Chevrolet. Come by and see us on Highway 11 Ayden or at winterchevrolet.net.
Fit for Life 24 is Greenville's premier fitness center. Fit for Life offers 24/7 access, childcare, personalized training, and group personal training. Visit either of our 2 convenient locations in Greenville with just 1 membership. And now, Fit for Life has launched Fit Fresh 24. Fit for Life has partnered with Village Point Market to provide fresh, healthy meals ready to go. Grab a healthy lunch or dinner after you work out. It's time to get fit for life. Check us out at fitforlife24.com or call 321-2222 and join today.
Accelerate your future in the Computer Integrated Machining program at Pitt Community College. Students gain highly technical, hands-on machining experience using state-of-the-art computer software and CNC machines, including 5-axis. Graduates can enjoy good-paying jobs in aerospace, manufacturing industries, government agencies, and a wide range of industry. With over 24,000 students enrolled in over 4,000 classes, we're Pitt Community College, accelerating your future for success.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Just like to say that y'all rock, man.
Now, is this going to be the big 3? Romo's age and his injuries hurts them, but with Dez and you got Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, that's a great building block or building blocks for that team. It's just with Romo, you're not quite sure, and we saw how valuable he was last year when he got hurt. But you wonder what is going to happen to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to compete for a playoff spot this year.
Dan Patrick.
Weekdays 9 to 12 p.m. on 94.3 The Game and 94.3thegame.com. It's time for the Graham View with Josh Graham.
Give us a hot spoonful of your opinion.
On 94.3 The Game.
Let's talk. You're tuned into Game Time. In 10 minutes, it'll be Andy Bitter, Virginia Tech beat writer with the Roanoke Times. When is enough enough? The police killings of unarmed black men subject is not comfortable at all. It really isn't, considering I'm the son of a police officer and, quite frankly, I'm white. I didn't want to talk about this, not really, but I felt compelled to after Terrence Crutcher happened earlier this week, and I stayed away. I resisted. But now it's Keith Lamont, and now it's in Charlotte, which means it's right in our backyard, and I just can't stop. I can't. Dan Le Batard and Bomani Jones are 2 of my favorite TV and radio hosts, and the reason they are is because they handle subjects like this so well. And their point was one that I wanted to give them credit for because they're a lot smarter than me. And they said that if you can't understand the overarching narrative that black people fear police officers more than white people, and numbers show that it's for good reason, then this conversation is not really worth having. This is a sports story. That should be left. I don't like talking about politics, but politics bleeds into sports so often. It really does. I'd love to talk about shoes and hair all day and talk about football, and that's it. But that's just not how it works anymore. Colin Kaepernick changed things with the way he knelt, and he did so in a way that got people uncomfortable. And that's the goal of a protest. When the NBA players protested during the ESPYs, people were able to phase that out and ignore it because it wasn't uncomfortable. And because it is now, and that's a lot due to Colin Kaepernick, we're now having discussion. And after yesterday, with Keith Lamont in Charlotte in the most recent police killings, Cam Newton, someone who's stayed away from these problems, talked about it. Here's what he had to say earlier today at Panthers camp.
My big thing is always holding people accountable. You know, no matter what the race is, no matter what the gender is, no matter what the age is, we all have to hold each other accountable. I'm a firm believer of justice. I'm a firm believer of doing the right thing, and I can't repeat it enough of just holding people accountable. Numerous times I've been said, I'm an African American. You know, I am not happy what or how the justice have been, kind of dealt with over the years, the state of oppression in our community. But we also, as black people, have to do right by ourselves. We can't be hypocrites, and I say that on one voice, and also another voice, that when you go public or when things happen in the community, it's not the fact that things are happening, it's the way they're being treated after they're happening. When you get a person that does some unjust things or killing an innocent person, killing fathers, killing, people who have actual families, that's real. Like, I have a son, You know, how will it be in a dog that I'm responsible for? You know, so how would I be if one day they come home and it's no more daddy?
Cam Newton earlier today talking about the police killing of Keith Lamont. And it's good to know all the details. He didn't really take a strong stance there, and really, why would he? It's a lose-lose if you're Cam Newton, and really Ron Rivera, who sidestepped it as well. Don't get me wrong, they didn't duck questions, but they didn't really take a side either way. I don't have solutions to this issue. I don't. I'm not nearly smart enough, as I noted. But in order to find one, we must acknowledge that there's some sort of problem, because, damn it, I'm just sick of talking about things like this. I'm sick of it. And we're doing so way too much. So I'm tired of hearing that this is just some type of liberal media agenda and that we can't see a problem that's right in front of us and identify the fact that this should not be happening this often. And I think one of my bigger problems with it is, again, I'm a son of a police officer, is that police, their silence and refusal to speak publicly about this, it's in a way almost as damning as the videos and the stuff that come out themselves, because that would fix a lot of problems. If a radio host said something or did something terrible, I would denounce them. But since we don't hear that, there's this expectation, this belief that they're all in it together and that they're getting, in some way, a preferential treatment when things go wrong. So I couldn't stay silent about this anymore. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's well said. It is the silence that sort of allows a lot of this to breed further anger. I think talking about these specific issues we're I think showing progress. It's a bigger issue. The flip side is these police officers, you know, we've heard it time and time again. The pressure under these police officers and the positions that they are put in daily, it's difficult. It's very difficult. They choose this line of work. It's hard to take a stance against someone putting it on the line. And I've got a buddy of mine who is a black cop in Atlanta, and he played football here at East Carolina, and he's just made comments, you know, just today that it's difficult. It's becoming difficult for him to put on the uniform.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, I think I know we got to move quick here, but it's a situation where progress in discussion, we're moving in the right direction. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I think so too. I'm just glad we kind of hit on it, and we'll get back to football on the other side of the break. ECU Virginia Tech's coming up Saturday at noon. The beat writer for Virginia Tech football is Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times. He's our guest when we return on Game Time.
Picture yourself in a living room, your pipe and slippers set out for you. I know you think that it ain't too far.
A lot has changed at Brown & Mazda over the last 80 years, except the way we do business. Since 1936, with support from lifelong customers, we've survived the Great Depression and recent recession and still maintain our same values and integrity in our third-generation family-owned business. We stand behind our vehicles and over thousands of satisfied customers, and we proudly support many of our local charities. Remember, 4 brands, 3 generations, 2 showrooms, and 1 goal: to make sure you leave a happy customer.
Fall comes with a hefty to-do list. Conquering land, hauling supplies, you name it. John Deere's here to help. Right now during the Gear Up for Fall event, save $300 on a Gator XUV 5901 and $500 on a Gator XUV 8251. It's time to get out there and go Gator. Offer ends October 28th. Some conditions apply. Visit one of East Coast Equipment's 13 locations in Eastern North Carolina and Virginia, or online at eastcoastequip.com or myjohndeeredealer.com. East Coast Equipment. We make caring for your land easy.
Affordable Hearing offers Eastern Carolina's best value in Starkey hearing aids in all styles, including custom invisible hearing aids. You'll save thousands compared to national brands. Affordable Hearing offers the latest technology like wireless hearing aids that stream from your TV and iPhone directly into your hearing aids. And you get a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied. Affordable Hearing with locations in Greenville, Kinston, New Bern, Bayboro, and Morehead City. Or you can call the owner, Kent Denton Cell Phone Direct at 252-227-9646.
Living here in Eastern North Carolina, there's one thing I know. Sometimes you can't even tell what season it is. One day it's hot, the next day it's cold, then windy, rainy, occasional snow. Oh, and did I say rain? Geez. And even though it's not my favorite item to shop for, when I have to buy tires, I always choose Pew's.
Time for new tires? Then choose Pew's for the Michelin Defender, Michelin's best standard passenger tire, offering 90,000 miles of limited warranty, delivering confident driving through exceptional safety, longevity, and a quiet, comfortable ride. Or if you're driving an SUV or pickup, the Michelin LTXM S2, Michelin's best-selling light truck tire, should be the choice for your light truck or SUV.
Sure, it's your vehicle, but most importantly, it's who's riding in it that matters the most. That's why choosy drivers choose Pew's for the best tires and automotive service money can buy.
For quality tires and automotive service you can trust, choose Pew's in Greenville, Washington, and Williamston. Choose Pew's, where your first price is the right price guaranteed.
Hey, this is Jim Foster with Wells Fargo, Market President here in Greenville with Chris Richards. Uptown Greenville invites you to Free Boot Friday, a celebration for pirate fans for all shapes, sizes, and ages. Feast on fantastic food served by Uptown restaurants. Enjoy a cold beverage or two in the beer and wine garden, and dance to the live music. Chris, give us the details.
Thanks, Jim. The Free Boot Fun starts at 5 p.m. and continues until 8 p.m. at 5 Points Plaza. Visit uptowngreenville.com for more information on Free Boot Friday, the official pep rally for all home Pirate football games, brought to you by Wells Fargo.
Go Pirates!
WRHT-HD1 Farmville, Washington, Greenville. This is the place to catch David Glenn weekdays at noon.
Yes, 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 yes! Woo!
94.3 The Game and 94.3thegame.com.
You're tuned into Game Time. The Pirate Nation's FM station going strong here, 94.3 The Game. Josh Graham, Andrew Bay, Danielle Beaver, John Jansen. The whole gang's here on the Wednesday afternoon. So glad you are. Several ways you could tune into the program. Live video stream and audio stream up at 943thegame.com. You could also listen on the TuneIn app. That's a way you can listen to the program. We had Mike Burnup with the Virginia Tech Radio Network join us in hour number 1. Andrew Bays after that, and he will stick around for a little while. We're still getting on the line, and the bidder from the Roanoke Times. He's been covering Virginia Tech now for several years, so he provides great perspective on the Hokies side of things. Still a lot more to get to ECU Virginia Tech related. Also on top of that, I want to talk about David Ortiz at some point in this show because he had another home run yesterday, 36 on the season, which gives him more home runs in a final season than any other player in Major League Baseball history. So I'm interested in where his place is in Boston sports history, but also whether or not the Red Sox would be right, despite doing all this campaigning and this farewell tour for David Ortiz, in wanting him back because he's been playing so well. Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times is now our guest on 94.3 The Game. Andy, we appreciate the time. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Looking forward to heading down to Lane Stadium on Saturday. Your audience is Greenville, North Carolina on 94.3 The Game. I'm curious, as someone who's covered this series for several years now and the Hokies for many years, what piques your interest about this particular matchup?
I just think how close the matchup's been the last couple of years. I think a lot of Virginia Tech fans aren't crazy about the series because if they win the game, they don't really get any credit for beating ECU. And if they lose the game, everybody acts like it's the end of the world that they lose to a team from the group of five. So,
yeah.
I think it's kind of an interesting series because all the games have really been close. There hasn't been too many blowouts. Obviously, the last couple of years, ECU has gotten the better of it. But even the 2 years before that, the Tech won. It was 15-10, 17-10, pretty close games. So I just think it's a very even matchup despite the difference of conferences that these two schools are in.
These two teams are scheduled to play up for the next decade pretty much every year almost. I think once we get to 2025 or whatever it is, 17 of 19 years ECU will have played Virginia Tech. So, I mean, what is it about the Pirates that is appealing to Virginia Tech? Because some say it's a rivalry. Some say that it's just a very friendly, good non-conference game to have on your schedule. How do you read it?
I don't know if I put it in the rivalry category, at least for Virginia Tech, along the likes of West Virginia or something like that, just because of the difference of conferences there. I think some Hokie fans might kind of look down on the East Carolina matchup, and they shouldn't based on the results of the last couple of years, but I think it's just sort of natural to do it like that. I am curious what happens to this series if the ACC goes to a ninth game.
Yes.
Or requires two Power 5 opponents a year, because then all of a sudden this is the weird one on the schedule that you don't really get credit for playing a pretty decent team, or at least not to the Power 5 level, and you kind of have to work your schedule around that. So honestly, if the ACC makes a decision, it wouldn't shock me if something happens to these next 8 games or however long their schedule out to do it, because I think it's just going to be required of Virginia Tech to get their schedule right according to the rules the ACC has set up.
Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times is with us on Game Time. In my opinion, I don't think anyone covers the Hokies better. You could read his work at roanoke.com and also follow Andy on Twitter at AndyBitterVT. The quarterbacks, Gerard Evans, we've heard a lot about him. What skill set does he possess that makes him such a problem for defenses?
You know, he's a dual threat guy, but I think so far what's impressed me is he's been a really good passer. He's been an accurate guy, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception so far. The interception wasn't even his fault. Went through the receiver's hands and bounced right up to the defense. So really, he went 80 passes before he threw a pick. Really should have 0 through 83. And I think I saw a stat somewhere out there that only 3 Power 5 quarterbacks have 10 touchdowns and 1 interception so far. So that's pretty good company right now for what he's doing. I just think he's sort of made this offense go, and that was really the question mark coming into the season was, how would the quarterback fit into what Justin Fuente wanted to do? And they had a bunch of good receivers coming back. They had a pretty good running back, good fullback, pretty experienced offensive line, but the question mark was the quarterback. And now that the quarterback is playing really well, I think that makes everything about this offense better.
How much do you think we're talking about Evans more? How much do you think Evans is more well-known if Lamar Jackson's not in the same conference that he's in?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, you still look at the competition he's done this against. He had 4 touchdowns against Liberty. A lot of people do that. 5 touchdowns against BC. It's a little less. It doesn't happen quite as often. But, it was still against a team that hasn't won a conference game since 2014. So right. You take the level of competition, you take it with a grain of salt there. Against Tennessee, he played okay as a team. Virginia Tech did not play well in that game, certainly with the turnovers. I think if he does it against, ECU here, UNC is the game up next, I think more people will start talking about him. But right now, there's still sort of that sense of, who exactly has he done this against, even though I think BC has a pretty good defense.
Virginia Tech beat writer with the Roanoke Times, Andy Bitters, with us on Game Time, 94.3 The Game. You've been out at Virginia Tech football practice and obviously have talked to coaches and players throughout the way. What have the older guys said about this game? What does it mean to them considering how the last 2 years have gone?
Talking to players this week, I think they do not take this game lightly at all. They've seen what happens. I don't know necessarily if they took this game lightly in the past, but they certainly have come into it, kind of flying high. 2 years ago, they beat Ohio State in Columbus, come back home, and that's the game that ECU jumped on them 21-0 in the first quarter, ended up knocking them off there. Last year, they go up to Purdue and have a pretty resounding win against Purdue, 51-24. It turns out Purdue's not very good. It's one of the worst teams out there in the country.
Yeah.
Go to Greenville, and then they have the rain-soaked 35-28 win where they just couldn't stop James Summers all day long. It was basically his quarterback runs. They couldn't do anything to stop it. So this team has the Hokies' attention. It's not like you can sleep on this group because 2 straight years, they felt pretty good about themselves and how they were playing and got taken down a notch.
That was the thing that surprised me the most about last year's game. You mentioned James Summers. 2 years ago, ECU jumped out to that 21-0 lead, and then for the rest of the game, I think in the second half, they had more penalty yardage than actual total yards until the final drive that took 3 plays covering 65 yards and capped with the Shane Carden touchdown after Virginia Tech tied up the game. Last year, was it more because Bud Foster does such a great job of taking away the best player of the other team and also at the same time adjusting in-game? Do you think that it was an example of him just not having enough tape on Summers since he was someone who hadn't played at that level yet and he was new, something the Hokies hadn't seen? Or do you think maybe it was just something else? I mean, how is Bud Foster preparing for James Summers this time around?
Well, you talked about Summers' performance last year. I think coming to that game, he had taken like 5 snaps at quarterback or something like that. So there was no film on him, really. And he was such a drastic departure from the other quarterback. It was really more of a drop-back passer. And you looked early on, it looked like Virginia Tech was going to blow them out. They had the 2 turnovers early that they turned into touchdowns. It was 14-0, and then ECU completely turned things around. And I think one thing with Foster's defense in the last couple of years, certainly one of the kryptonites of that defense has been running quarterbacks. They just have not really had an answer for it, and whether that's design plays or scrambles or just sort of freelancing in the backfield, for whatever reason, they've just not been able to stop running quarterbacks. I think this year they've adjusted a little bit on defense. They're playing a little more zone. They're trying to do some more confusing looks, pre-snap stuff, where they're moving around to confuse defenses or offenses. Whereas in the last couple of years, they really got that habit of just playing sort of man defense, and that's it. And I feel like a lot of opposing offenses were able to come up to the line, diagnose exactly what they were going to do, and then a lot of the time, you either chuck it down the field or have everybody run deep and their backs are to the play, and all of a sudden the quarterback's taking off running down the field. I think the fact that the Hokies are playing more zone defense, mixing up coverages this year, will make that harder to do. And they have more guys looking at the ball and can rally to it if there's a quarterback taking off and scrambling this year. Josh Dobbs still went over 100 yards a couple weeks ago for Tennessee. But it didn't feel quite like it had the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's a major adjustment they have to make and a major part of this game that they kind of have to address coming into it.
Last thing for Andy Bitter, Roanoke Times, Virginia Tech beat writer. Obviously, offensively, we know the Hokies look different with Justin Fuente in charge. But in what other ways have you noticed the impression that Fuente has already made on this program?
I think the program went from a sense of just sort of foreboding like the end of Frank Beamer's career to something looking to the future and looking ahead. It seems like, I've been on the beat 5 years, and ever since I've been here, it seems like the question has been, how much longer is Frank going to be around? How much longer is he going to coach this team before he steps aside? I mean, that was question. He was 64 when I started covering the team, 69 last year when he actually hung it up at the end of the year. I think it was just always sort of the feeling of when is that axe going to drop? When is that going to be that transition going to be made? And now people aren't asking that question. Now it's about what can Fuente do for the future of this program? What heights can he take it to? Because he's an up and coming coach, kind of an on the rise guy. So I think that filters down throughout the program that you didn't have the sense of something coming to the end and sort of something building to the future. And I think there's a lot more optimism in Blacksburg because of that.
Well, Andy, we certainly enjoy your work. You do a great job with the Roanoke Times. We'll catch you up in the press box on Saturday when we head down to Lane Stadium. But for now, thanks for the time, man.
All right, sounds good.
That's Andy Bitter. Read his work at Roanoke.com. Follow him on Twitter at AndyBitterVT. We have some important and some not important things to talk about when we return from a break. We'll be back with Andrew Bays, John Jansen, my name's Josh Graham, and Danielle Beaver next on Game Time.
There's a new car dealership in Washington, and you've got to see the all-new Washington Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram located on Highway 264. I'm Matthew Sessoms, General Manager at the new Washington Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We're proud to provide Eastern North Carolina with a state-of-the-art facility, a huge selection of new cars and trucks, and a reliable service department.
Washington Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Highway 264 in Washington is open for sales and service 6 days a week with Saturday service from 8 to 4. Get 20% off MSRP on new Ram trucks, 20% off the new Chrysler 300, 20% off Dodge Charger and Journey, and 20% off Jeep Cherokee. That's right, all of these new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles are 20% off MSRP. But you've got to act now because it's only for a limited time.
For the best selection and service, stop in to see us for Ram Power Days at the all-new Washington Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Highway 264 and visit WashingtonChrysler.com.
Customer must qualify for all rebates. See dealer for details.
At the Little Bank, we believe our old-fashioned customer service and modern-day technologies and conveniences come together to create the perfect banking experience for you. We want to be your community bank. We're dedicated to providing our personal and commercial banking customers the personal attention you deserve, all with no hidden fees and highly competitive rates. Go to thelittlebank.com to discover your local branch. At the Little Bank, we want to know you.
The Little Bank is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Dr. Thomas McIntosh at Carolina Vision Care announces 2 new optometrists have joined the practice. Dr. Scott McIntosh, an Eagle Scout who grew up in Greenville and attended Rose High and ECU, and Dr. Natalie McIntosh, originally from Arkansas. Both just graduated with honors from the Southern College of Optometry in Memphis. Scott was chosen to be a student ambassador and received an award from the staff for clinical excellence. Natalie was also an honor student and was honored with the Southwest Contact Lens Society Award. To schedule an appointment, call 752-4380.
Look at you, Mr. Perfect Lawn. Your wife and neighbors must be so proud, because nothing instills pride quite like mowing equidistant lines at fescue. Come on, man, reclaim your weekend and trade the yard work for some fun at the park. With 14 national and 41 state parks across North Carolina, it's nearly impossible to say no to the great outdoors. For more information, go to visitnc.com/parks. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
Greenville's exclusive site for the medical community is greenvillevitalsigns.com. You can visit local area medical practices, watch videos, and take tours of local practices right here in Greenville. If you're looking for a new provider, make sure to visit greenvillevitalsigns.com and see what these local medical practices have to offer. Check out the virtual booths and get links to the practice websites. See the latest from Vidant Health and what they have to offer. With the resources to keep you connected to the medical community, make greenvillevitalsigns.com a part of your search when looking for medical care in Greenville.
The game. We're in hashtag second hour radio on a Wednesday edition of the show. There is things happening within this show that I'm not a fan of, that are taking place, that I'm not happy about, quite frankly. We've already covered a lot. Andrew Bays is with us in studio, first team All-American at ECU. Had a lot of punters on this week. Matt Dodge yesterday. We have Andrew Bays here. John Jansen's the producer of this show. Danielle Beaver is our intern. We had Mike Burnup on the Virginia Tech Radio Network join us first hour. And last segment, we had Andy Bitter with the Roanoke Times covering Virginia Tech. Apparently, see, we talked about at the beginning of this show how good I was feeling. I was feeling great. Had a new haircut. Thought I was looking good. 943thegame.com. You can check out the video stream. Actually, I don't want people to go there anymore because apparently the way I put on my headphones has messed up my do. Well, and you guys, this has not been just a today thing. This has been a long-going thing, and I partly blame John, but also Danielle's in on this as well.
Well, I've told you about this repeatedly. I even instructed and put your headphones on for you one time to show you how to do it. And you continue every single time to push the middle of your head. You continue to push that hair back, and me and Danielle just have a great time laughing at it while you're doing your thing.
I don't remember any of these conversations taking place.
Josh, I put your headphones on for you to show you how to put on headphones properly.
There's a wrong way to put them on. I mean, I don't have them on like this, turning it upside down.
Well, it'd be better for your hair. I mean, your hair was again looking good today until you messed it up.
That's how Imus does it. Imus does it like that so he can wear his cowboy hat.
Imus listener, look at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about that?
I'm Team Stern, typically.
Yeah.
I like how Danielle's being quiet during all this.
Danielle,
So I can take all the
she
fall
was
for this.
She was running her mouth. I know she was running her mouth
She
about
was.
it. Now she's quiet.
Look at you. You coward, Danielle. Talking all of it during the break. Now we're on the air and you're quiet.
Well, I wouldn't say anything unless John said something.
That is false.
So it is the producer of this show
He pointed
conspiring against me.
He's just a pot stirrer.
He is. Who's right here? 252-561-4263. 252-561-GAME. Who's right here? Put that on the poll, too. At 943 the game. Should I be mad?
No.
Should Josh be mad? At 943 the game.
I told you this. I have put your headphones on for you one time to show you how to do it.
Don't remember this happening.
And you continue to put it on the wrong
Is this
way.
Josh's first diva moment?
No.
It's not. Okay.
Wait a minute. I'm not a diva.
Well, we are talking about your hair.
That's true. I was happy about this for a second. See, I'm not sure if it was the police killing of unarmed black people conversation or this, but a combination of them has really bummed me out right now. I'm bummed out. Officially.
Your hair still looks good.
It looks good, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Looks good.
I'm starting to feel better.
It's fresh.
All right, you're just doing this to make me feel better.
No. Now this time you put it on and you put it over the hair that was sticking up. So now it's not even noticeable.
It's good, buddy. Take a deep breath. It's all good. It's all good. It looks good. You put it on right this time. You listen to John. You're good.
You're tuned to the 94.3 The Game and Game Time. There's another audio cut from Matt Dodge from yesterday. This was extremely awkward. He's known by John Jansen before this. Oh, the guy who punted Deshaun Jackson. And I just assumed that he gets this a lot. However, when I asked him this question, things got awkward. How often do you hear about that punt?
You know, counting right now, I hadn't heard about it for about 3 years until you just brought it up.
No.
So I appreciate that. No. After it happened, obviously, I mean, that was, I did a lot of public speaking. I remember speaking at a church and, kind of giving my testimony. And I'm like, all right, anybody have any questions? How the locker room is, blah, blah, blah. And this one older, just redneck dude was like, man, how fast is Deshaun Jackson? It's like the only thing people actually remember from that.
You went there.
I did.
Before this interview, though, and I wish I saved it, before this interview came on, Josh always has to tease the interview before the break.
Right.
And he said, Matt Dodge, punter of the Philadelphia Eagles. That was a bad moment.
It was. Well, right after it, you did a sports segment.
That was just as bad.
Speaking of which.
Oh, man.
Here's John Jansen with a look at sports.
Sports news. Everyone, a little breaking news for you.
The Cleveland Browns have just been made aware of an arrest warrant issued for wide receiver Josh Gordon in a paternity case. The Browns said Gordon and his attorney are working with the county courts to resolve the matter. And Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson will have surgery Thursday morning for his torn meniscus. Peterson, who was injured Sunday, told ESPN that he has a bucket handle tear of the meniscus, which typically has a minimum recovery time of 3 to 4 months. And some afternoon games from Major League Baseball. Rockies 11-1 over the Cardinals. That is final. Astros a 6-4 lead over the Athletics in the bottom of the 8th. And Mariners also a 1-0 lead over the Blue Jays in the bottom of the 8th. And that is your sports update.
Thanks, John. Started out slow, but you did all right there.
I've recovered.
Yeah. I thought you did okay.
Sort of like your hair today.
Oof. Wow.
Things getting pretty heated here. So is ECU Virginia Tech a rivalry? Can we call it that? Do we think it is that? Like, what is the requirements for figuring out, diagnosing what's a rivalry and what isn't? Because if you're talking about frequency, if you're talking about competitiveness, if you're talking about mutual respect, which one fits that terminology or that criteria better than ECU Virginia Tech?
I don't think it fits the category of being a rivalry. You don't have. They are close in proximity regionally, but they're not battling the same ground. And I don't know. I've been a part of Virginia Tech games, multiple Virginia Tech games, and it's usually not coming down to the wire like most classic rivalry games are coming down to the wire on every single game where players are giving it their all to finish a game. You don't see that on both sides, and it hasn't. I don't think it's been that way for a while. I think it can develop into that. You know, there's been a nice history of games going back quite a ways, but I don't think there's enough classic epic games in that mix to be able to create a rivalry here.
I don't know. Last couple of years, things have been very, very competitive in that regard,
and that can add to maybe a future, a future consideration.
If it's not Virginia Tech, who is? NC State a rival?
NC State's absolutely our number one rival.
Number one. Because the other ones in the conversation would be what? UCF, Marshall.
Yeah.
Who else?
We haven't been. It's not like we've been sitting in a conference forever, playing the same teams over and over. It's just not. We haven't had that kind of.
So
history.
is NC State, by your definition, the only rival East Carolina has?
There can be if UNC would sign up, or if NC State would sign up for just a classic game every year. That would be epic. It would absolutely be a nice rivalry. But
the truth of the matter is, NC State's not playing ECU till 2019.
That's right.
So where's the frequency?
We have no power to make that rivalry exist because it's to a certain extent it's one-sided. They don't want to be a part of it until we can jump in the ACC and be able to combat these teams on a regular basis.
But that's never going to happen because you have too many. The ACC would have no. They would add nothing if they add East Carolina. All you would be doing is adding another team in the state that already has 4 teams in that state.
Right.
Cut that pie a 5th time. Nobody wants that, and you need the support of at least one of those 4, which you're not going to get.
That's right.
If you're East Carolina. So that's why I'm interested by this, because what is the criteria of it? Is it epic games? Because we've seen that lately. Right. TJ Lee's punt in 2008. Shane Carden scoring with 17 seconds left.
Right.
The ones that Virginia Tech won, 2011, 15-10, 17-10 the year after that. These games have been close. James Summers last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's mutual respect. Mm-hmm. I think Virginia Tech fans respect and actually like playing East Carolina. They like the rivalry because in 2007, I don't know how much money Terry Holland and the athletics department or the ECU, the university, gave to Virginia Tech after the shooting in 2007, but it was certainly some type of sum, and they were on the field, and ECU got cheered, and there was ECU chants at Lane Stadium.
Look, I think there was a time where both programs were on the same parallel.
Yeah.
You know, Big East and us in Conference USA.
Then Michael Vick happened.
And when we were in an independent prior to that. I sat on a plane and took a flight with Frank Beamer side by side. We had a great conversation about the relationship of the two schools. This was in 2000. This was really when we were both at the pinnacle of our existence together.
He liked you a ton, I bet, because he loves himself some punk.
Oh, the conversation was awesome. But what we were talking about was how both programs at the time were so similar and where the programs were going. And at that point, Virginia Tech got to take, a few years later, they got to take the step up that we never really got to take. We, all of a sudden they're in a conference they're in a party that we can't get into.
Is that where tension can come, though, to spawn a rivalry, though?
It can, but we're not playing on the same level. They don't have to look at us the same way as we look at them.
Well, I think you made a point earlier with it. What are they battling for? I mean, it's not like for a conference win, or it's not because of an in-state game. It's just another game, I think, to both teams that they just have respect for.
There's nothing on the line.
So ECU doesn't have a rival. Because NC State, they don't play once every 3 years.
But it's in state, though. They're battling for something. They're battling for bragging rights in the state.
And to a certain extent, with NC State, we're somewhat battling for recruits as well.
That's true.
There's to a certain extent.
There's a ton of Virginia kids on this ECU roster.
Absolutely.
I mean, Anthony Scott, Deshaun Amos, Dimitri McGill. Those are just a couple.
Yeah, but it's almost one-sided. They don't have to look at the quote-unquote rivalry the same way we do. There's not much on the line, except for just like any other team that you play where you've got some guys on the roster from Virginia or you got some guys on the roster from South Carolina or Georgia or whatever it is. It's extra special going to play those teams. It's extra special for the South Carolina guys to go play the Gamecocks and put a whooping on them because that's where they're from, and maybe they didn't offer them a scholarship or whatever it might be. That always exists, but unfortunately, from where we're at right now, being in our current conference, unless we're sitting in this conference for the next 20 years playing the same teams, that's going to kind of be how it goes until we form somewhat of a rivalry.
Before we let you go, we love the stories you tell.
Yeah.
Last week you had the Steve Logan don't complain story.
Right.
Andrew, what's your favorite ECU Virginia Tech story?
Oh man, so I've got a couple. One that stands out was we went up there. It was the weather was in the single digits. It was a Thursday night game. I'll never forget it because my mom, she's probably listening to this show, but after the game she showed up outside the locker room. I've never seen her lips blue. Like she was literally almost on the verge of frostbite, I'm sure. Bleacher seats sitting out in that game, night game on that mountain. It was incredible. But so during the game, Virginia Tech, right behind the East Carolina bench, is a student section. And it's always fun playing in front of a student section because there's all kinds of trash talk. There's all kinds of silliness going back and forth between players and the students. Well, as the game wore on, they actually threw, the black-handled steak knives, serrated steak knives that you get in the cafeteria. They actually, I guess they had them, but they're throwing those on our sideline towards us. Of course, they don't do it. They're rounded. They're not pointed or anything like that. They're not going to do anything. Sure. But it's a pretty crazy thing. And then next thing you know, they start throwing frozen, little Hostess donuts, like the little ones, like the powdered donuts. They start throwing those, but it's so cold that they're frozen. So they do hurt when they start pelting us with these little donuts. And I was halfway I was pretty hungry, getting into the second half. I was halfway considering eating one.
Okay.
But I decided not to.
Thank God. Could you imagine if one of those fans saw you eat one?
Oh, that would have been,
How would Coach Logan have responded?
Oh, there were guys sneaking off on the side getting hot dogs. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure he knew about the sneaking Snickers
so you
bars.
almost snuck one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt.
So as the game wore on, it as you can imagine, it was a snowy night. The field was an absolute wreck. It was muddy. We were wearing our all whites, which are some of the best uniforms ECU's ever had, is all whites. But we're wearing all whites, and of course everyone's just covered in mud. And something hit me late in the game in the fourth quarter. I'm standing there, and I know the game's on national television. I know it's on ESPN, and family and friends are watching. And I just got this odd sense standing on the sideline that maybe everyone's looking at me because my jersey had no mud or dirt or anything on it. I was like glowing. I could tell I was glowing. And so I made an effort. on the next punt. This was deep in the fourth quarter, and I think the game had pretty much gotten away from us at that point. And I made it a point on a punt and a kickoff. I had two opportunities to actually run down the field, and I know I wasn't going to make a play or tackle or anything like that. So I just kind of slid into the pile. So as the guys, as a player got tackled, I made sure that I sprinted down the field, and then I just kind of slid into the pile just to make sure that I was not glowing white anymore. And I did that on a punt and a kickoff.
Did it work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wasn't as dark, muddy as everyone else that had been slopping in the mud all game, but I could at least go in the locker room having some mud on me. I wasn't glowing like an angel anymore.
Did anyone notice what you were doing?
I don't think so.
Did anybody see you slide into the pile and think, what are you doing?
It was so cold. It was like unbelievably cold.
You had to survive.
Everyone was pretty much ready to get out of there. By the fourth quarter, I think everyone was just, let's get on the buses and get out of here. We're not going to win this game. So I just took it as an opportunity to just go down and jump on piles.
That's incredible. Andrew, you didn't disappoint once again. We look forward to you coming in next week. Thanks for the visit, man.
Absolutely. Go Pirates.
That's Andrew Bays, former ECU All-American and punter, and I'll say pile slider. We'll add that to his title. On the other side of the break, David Ortiz. Is this the end? Should it be the end? That's next on Game Time.
Bailey's is proud to carry Forevermark. Forevermark diamonds are conflict-free and undergo a strict assessment to ensure they are natural and untreated. Each Forevermark diamond carries the promise of an enduring commitment to responsible sourcing and originates from a carefully selected source that provides benefits to the local community and the environment. This ensures that Forevermark diamonds help improve the lives of those involved in its journey, so you can feel proud to give, own, or wear a Forevermark diamond. Bailey's Fine Jewelry. Every woman wants a Bailey box.
This is Steve Jones, president of Yadkin Bank and proud alumnus of East Carolina University. Yadkin Bank is proud to be a part of the Eastern North Carolina community. We are a full-service community bank dedicated to providing financial solutions for our clients. When you're dealing with Yadkin Bank, you're dealing with your neighbor and friends. Come see us at any of our North Carolina branches. At Yadkin Bank, we're in it together.
Yadkin Bank, member FDIC.
Kickback Jack's is a home of award-winning chicken wings, savory burgers, made from scratch pizza, appetizers, dinners, and desserts. There's no better place to kick it inside or outdoors than Kickback Jack's in Greenville. Order up one of the 32 domestic and craft beers on draft with over 50 HD TVs, including 2 projector screens. You can watch every NFL and college football game. Located on the corner of Greenville Boulevard and Red Banks Road, Kickback Jack's is Greenville's place for great food, great fun, and great football.
Excuse me, I need some help with appliances.
Yeah, I'm going on break, but that guy over there could help.
Hi, Jim and Ellen. Hope you're settled and learning your way around town. But you're not in here to buy appliances, are you? Not to be rude, but for appliances, you need to go to Greenville TV and Appliance. They're family owned and operated and have been in business for almost 65 years.
Well, we thought this was the best place to see a large selection.
Actually, Greenville TV and Appliance has a great selection. They carry Whirlpool, GE, Frigidaire, LG, and Samsung, as well as Sub-Zero, Wolf, and Thermador. Their sales staff is trained on the different products, from ranges, cooktops, microwaves, and refrigerators to the latest in washers and dryers.
And I thought you were a school teacher.
Yes, I am a school teacher, but Bobby at Greenville TV and Appliance went to high school with me, and he's been working there for 18 years.
As your local brand source neighborhood expert, Greenville TV and Appliance can offer big box pricing and a customer service driven atmosphere. Not only do they offer all the latest products, their staff is knowledgeable and ready to help. Greenville TV and Appliance, 200 Southeast Greenville Boulevard.
This is the end. It's the 2016 Model Year End Sales Event at Greenville Nissan, and we have a huge selection. Get up to $4,000 off a 2016 Nissan Rogue. Get up to $3,500 off a 2016 Nissan Sentra. Plus, hey, Greenville Nissan special announcement. Get up to $10,000 off a new Nissan Titan. But hurry, it ends this month. Expect miracles at Greenville Nissan and GreenvilleNissan.com.
You're tuned in to Game Time, 94.3 The Game. Wow, how the studio has cleared out.
It feels empty in here.
We've had loads of guests. Andy Bitter from the Roanoke Times and Mike Burnup with the Virginia Tech IMG Sports Network calling into the show. Our intern, Danielle Beaver, has since left us, as has Andrew Bay. So it's just me and John Jansen and you for listening. Appreciate you along for the ride. Hashtag Second Hour Radio. This will become a thing. I'm sure of it.
It already is a thing.
So, David Ortiz, I am very fascinated with what he's doing. 36 home runs this season. It's incredible because that's more home runs than anyone's ever hit in their final year, if it is in fact his final year. If you're the Boston Red Sox, what are you doing? 36 home runs, and there's still time in the regular season. Are you're the one that's parading him around and having these farewell tour moments and putting all these promotions together for it. However, don't you understand that if this guy stays around, your baseball team's a lot better moving forward? Like, this is the anti-Favre. This is, like, how would he be viewed if he says, you know what, I'm playing so well, why don't I just come back? How would that be viewed?
I don't think anybody would negatively react towards that.
Oh,
I mean,
sure
I don't
they
think
will.
So. No, I don't think they will. No.
Oh,
David
you didn't
Ortiz
follow through on your decision, and you got a victory lap, and everyone honored you, and we stood for you at all these games, celebrating your career, and you're just going to come back?
Well, the thing is with Brett Favre, because you brought up that example, people started turning after like the second or third time he decided to unretire. This is the first time, and he didn't even officially retire yet. He just said he will. So I don't think fans are going to be like, oh man, David Ortiz going back and forth. This is annoying now. I guess
it reminds me more of Steve Smith. That's a guy who said he was going to retire last year, but then he got hurt halfway through the year, and he said he didn't want to go out that way. Where it's the cross on the other side, where David Ortiz said he's going to retire, but he's having a career year.
So are you saying though, or are you assuming that he wants to come back or think he'll come back next year?
No, I'm just saying,
okay,
for the money that he's making and for the impact that he has, and also the reception from fans who would likely love to have him back, why wouldn't you?
No, it just honestly comes down to him if he wants to actually play.
So you think it would be positively viewed?
I think it would be, yes.
By the way, our big question has been ECU and Virginia Tech. Is it a rivalry? Put that up on the poll. Is ECU Virginia Tech a rivalry? Because Andrew Bays didn't seem to think so. Neither did our guests as well that we've had on the line. I think it is because of definition. Where, yeah, it might not mean something or mean something for either team in the long scheme of things, but mutual respect, great moments to point to, long-term history, and also future frequency of playing one another. ECU has just as much certainty that they're going to play Virginia Tech as they do UCF or anyone in the American, especially considering where the American's at in terms of if they're staying in the conference, all of them wanting to go to the Big 12 in future years, potentially. That's another subject we'll get into with Mike Oresco tomorrow. We'll have the American Athletic Conference Commissioner with us. Steve Logan will make his weekly visit. Tyler Bailey, who's put together these outstanding ECU athletic videos. He's a student, too. That's crazy. He'll be our guest on tomorrow's Game Time as well. So we're looking forward to that. But where do you put David Ortiz, by the way, in terms of Boston sports figures? Because the way they look at it, they see him as the top sports figure in a town that is known to win championships. Like, people view him on the Mount Rushmore, and he might be the most prominent because he's a Red Sox. You're talking about, in basketball, Larry Bird and Bill Russell, Bobby Orr in hockey, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in football, and then you have Ted Williams and now David Ortiz in baseball. A lot of people think that David Ortiz is the top of the list in terms of most prominent Boston sports figures.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. And just the one example of after the marathon bombings, and when David Ortiz went up and spoke, I mean that was a big moment. That was sort of a Boston strong moment when David Ortiz came up and talked about it.
Such a great speech.
Yeah,
this is our bleeping city.
Right, but just fans really react positively, at least Red Sox fans, towards David Ortiz, and he just has a hold on that city that I don't think Tom Brady does or any athlete right now in Boston does.
Also, I think regionally speaking, baseball does this, by the way. They've done studies. Nationally wise, the sport that's most followed is the NFL. national interest-wise. But regionally, if you ask cities that have NFL, baseball, hockey teams, professional level, which team would you want to win the championship the most? By and large, it was baseball. People are more connected regionally to baseball teams than any other sport. I think it was The Atlantic that put out this study and story. Boston's the same way. The Red Sox are the top in terms of what people care about in Boston. And David Ortiz was the key figure in beating the Yankees down 3-0 in 2004 and winning that World Series, ending an 86-year drought for the Red Sox in which they hadn't won a World Series. And he had historically good postseasons in 2007. And I forget if it's 11 or 12 that Boston won. One of the 2 years, he had historic postseasons and winning not one, not two, but 3 championships for the Red Sox when the previous 86 years before him produced no championships. So I sign off on that. But just the idea that you put Ortiz in this modern era over Brady, Belichick, Bird, Russell, Bobby Orr, Ted Williams, it's interesting to me. And I think it's fascinating. Before we go to break, though, we have audio from Justin Fuente. ECU played Virginia Tech. This is from earlier today on the David Glenn Show. Justin Fuente talking about ECU, Virginia Tech.
Coach, I've learned over the years that sometimes coaches and media's brains work similarly, and other times they're just totally in different directions. So with that in mind, let me ask you this. ECU's only loss at South Carolina I saw on TV. Your only loss in Bristol to the Volunteers I saw on TV. From my perspective, you kind of played the Volunteers mostly equally, kind of at the line of scrimmage, if you will, but the turnovers killed you. And I thought the Pirates not only played the Gamecocks equally, I thought they were better, maybe even significantly better, but the turnovers killed them. Did you see those kind of parallels in the only games that both your squad and Scotty Montgomery's squad have lost this year?
Absolutely. I think they dominated the game much more so than we did at Tennessee.
Okay.
But you go back and look at the statistics, and obviously in the Tennessee game, we turned the ball over 4 or 5 times, and we ended up outgaining them and those sorts of things. But their game, East Carolina and South Carolina, I mean, they had 500 yards of offense to 200 and some odd. They absolutely moved the ball up and down the field and had 3 turnovers inside the 10-yard line, had a blocked field goal, had 4 turnovers altogether. Really a game, I'm sure, just reading Coach Montgomery's comments, they've kind of gone back to the drawing board, kind of the way we did after the Tennessee game in terms of our fundamentals and ball security and those sorts of things, because they did dominate the football game last week. And you can't take all the credit away from South Carolina. They found a way to win the ball game. But that being said, I think you're right. They were getting after them pretty well on both sides of the ball.
You have this reputation as an offensive guru, a guy we've interviewed on your staff a lot over the years. Bud Foster has one of the greatest reputations as a defensive guru. What can you tell us when it comes to your opponent this week, ECU, about how you prepare when you've seen Philip Nelson as a quality starter for the Pirates? But I know Coach Foster remembers James Summers was like a wide receiver who surprised the Virginia Tech defense by being a much bigger part of the game plan than expected. I'm trying to remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and that ended up basically being the difference in the game as the Pirates beat the Hokies. So how do you wrap your brain around all of that?
Yeah, it was last year, and nobody can tackle him. He hadn't been tackled very much this year either. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. Can really run, is a great weapon for them, and they have skill guys across the board. They've just done a great job recruiting to a system, and I know this is Coach Montgomery's first year there, but they look similar to what they've looked in years past offensively, which is potent. And it's going to be a great test for us. It's a completely different test than we had last week. Last week, Boston College was going to get big, multiple tight ends, try and run it down your throat, and then take shots down the field. And this is a little more, they threw it 58 times last week. This is a spread, new-aged offense that still runs the football but has dynamic players out there in space. And it's going to be a great challenge. But the thing about Coach Foster is, in my opinion, there are a lot of good defenses out there, just like there are a lot of good offenses. Whether you play defense, you run a 50 defense or a 4-2-5 defense, whatever it is, just like the veer option and the triple option and the pro style are all good offenses. But the key is, can you make adjustments to whatever it is that you do? And in my opinion, the thing that sets Coach Foster apart, along with getting his guys to play incredibly hard, is the way he makes adjustments. Just he knows how to fix problems. He can address them in real time, which is ultimately gives us a chance on a week in, week out basis.
You've been around this game your whole life. I don't know if you have trivial style numbers ever in your head, but as you watch the Pirates on video, have you ever seen number 7 Zay Jones, a performance like he had at South Carolina? I mean, you could live maybe a whole life in football and not see 22 catches in a single game.
That was remarkable. I mean, they obviously have great comfort in him throwing the ball that many times. He's got great hands, but he's got something more than that. He's got some savvy in terms of finding holes in zone coverage, small nuances in terms of defeating leverage and man coverage. Somebody that they move all around the field. Everybody says, "Well, okay, just double cover him." Well, that's great, but he's moved all over the place. They do a great job within their scheme, maximizing his talent, and he's going to catch a lot of balls this season. I can promise you that.
The head coach of Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente, earlier on 94.3 The Game today on the David Glenn Show. We take it to the house after a break. You're listening to The Game.
We do it best at Fantastic Sam's. Bring in the whole family, we'll take care of the rest at Fantastic Sam's. Highlights, lowlights, treatments and waxing. No appointment needed, our prices you can't beat them. Cut, color, style, we do it best at Fantastic Sam's.
I'm Murphy, a service tech at a Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center.
I need help.
They always do.
I'm overdue for an oil change.
No problem.
Tire rotation?
Got it.
Top off the fluid?
Yep.
Check the battery and filters?
Roger.
The sprocket lockets?
No such thing.
Seeing if you're listening.
I haven't stopped.
Today's Saturday, and I don't have an appointment.
Now you do.
Cool.
Very cool.
No appointment necessary. Weekend hours and trained techs ready to give your car the works. Quick Lane is ready to serve. Visit quicklane.com.
This isn't going to work. No matter what we say, some people still drive drunk. But we're Budweiser. Giving a damn is what we do. So, if you think it's okay to drive drunk, if you think it's something that's debatable, or you just simply don't care, this Bud is not for you. Give a damn. Don't drive drunk. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh no, is it okay? Is it going to survive?
Is your air conditioning unit in need of some medical attention? Better call the Air Doctor. The Air Doctor can revive your AC and get it back cooling in no time. The Air Doctor services residential and commercial AC units anywhere in eastern North Carolina. And if you call right now, you'll receive 10% off your first service. Call the Air Doctor now for 24/7 emergency service. 252-215-0966. The Air Doctor, your prescription for comfort. Kickback Jack's is the home of award-winning chicken wings, savory burgers, made from scratch pizza, appetizers, dinners, and desserts. There's no better place to kick it inside or outdoors than Kickback Jack's in Greenville, with daily specials like our $5 Burger Tuesdays, where the guests get a fresh half-pound burger with choice of cheese and a side of fries for just $5. And Tuesday and Wednesday night special is $3 pints and half-price wine. Located on the corner of Greenville Boulevard and Red Banks Road, Kickback Jack's is Greenville's place for great food, great fun, and great football.
There's a name for people who don't like the NFL, MLB, NHL, or NBA. They're called Amish.
We Amish, we demand more of ourselves.
You're either with us or you're with them.
You people work 8-hour days, we work 12. We do whatever you people do plus a half. That's how we survive.
This is your home for Dan Patrick, David Glenn, and Jay Moore.
Everybody benefits off Steph Curry.
I know that the overwhelming majority of the people in that part of the state care.
All these teams that tank, all these suits, coaches, they are actual losers. And every fan that pays for a ticket is a sucker.
943thegame.com.
Going down the stretch of a Wednesday edition of Game Time. So glad you're along with us, however and wherever you are listening, whether it's online at 943thegame.com or the TuneIn app, or on the radio frequency 94.3 WRHD. We are the Pirate Nation's FM station. Tomorrow's show, we have a big show for you. It'll be Mike Oresco, the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, joining us. He decided to keep the softball conference championships in Greenville despite the pressure that came from the NCAA, the ACC, pulling events out of North Carolina because of HB2. I look forward to chatting with him about that. Also, East Carolina and conference realignment will be part of that conversation as well. We'll have Steve Logan pay his weekly visit, as he does, because thanks to our friends at Park Boat Company. And we'll have Tyler Bailey, ECU Athletics videographer, join us. He does these fantastic videos that if you haven't seen yet, well, shame on you. They're fantastic, and you can find those at ECU Athletics on YouTube and Twitter. Great show so far today. Let's hope it finishes well. To give us a proper dismount or crash the plane, here's John Jansen with Take It to the House.
Gets to the 20, loose to the 30, to the 40, down the left side to the 50 goes Elliott. He's going to take it to the house. 30, 20, 10, touchdown Ezekiel Elliott.
Take it to the house. Take it to the house. Take it to the house.
So this is more of like a PSA. One of those public service announcements, that we do here. Josh,
yeah, that's what PSA stands for. Thanks.
That's just making sure people know. I mean, not everybody's as smart as Josh Graham.
After Jay-Z put a song out called PSA,
oh, everybody knows what it
about.
means. Okay, I've never heard of that song. But
my name's Ho, H to the O-V.
I have no idea what that. Oh, I know that song. Never mind.
You play NBA 2K. I know you know that.
But do you wear one of those Fitbit things?
No.
Or do you have one of those?
No.
Well, I know a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
And just wanted to make sure they know it does not work. Usually people wear it to help them keep track of how fit they are and so they can lose weight. Well, a study just found that dieting adults who wore activity monitors for 18 months lost significantly fewer pounds than people that didn't. So wearing a Fitbit, you won't lose as much weight. Just wanted to make sure you know that. Or any monitoring device.
Interesting. What's the source of this?
The results suggested that the monitors were supposed to change behaviors, like to know how much you were doing in activity. They don't at all. I guess.
Well, where's your source? Who's saying that?
This come from a study published. I have no idea where. The New York Times posted this story.
Okay, so there you go.
It's got to be legit.
You think so? All right, yeah.
Right. I just trust anything in the New York Times. I just trust.
It's on the internet.
Right.
It has to be real.
Exactly, Josh. Okay. But this story I think you'll like. So a 60-year-old woman and her roommate. The 60-year-old woman was trying to get it on with her male roommate.
Okay.
Trying to get some.
Naturally, old lady had to get some too.
Right.
Yeah.
The guy turned it down. So her immediate reaction was to grab a knife and stab him in the chest.
Well, how old was this guy?
He was 61.
Wait, and the woman is how old?
And the woman is 60.
Okay, so like the guy's older.
Right, and the woman,
you're scoring
again,
a younger woman.
Wanted to get some. The guy said no. She stabbed him in the chest, and now she's being charged with aggravated assault.
That'll do it. Oh, that's pretty good. That had everything you want in a story. Old people, coitus, actually lack thereof, getting stabbed in the chest. That's pretty good. Aggravated assault.
I mean,
to update the poll one last time, is ECU Virginia Tech a rivalry? 53% says yes, 47% no. Should I be mad at John and Danielle and everyone else? 67% say no. And what can make a bigger first impression? Your shoes or your hair? 81% say your hair. Thanks to Mike Burnup, Andy Bitter, Andrew Bays, John Jansen, and Danielle Beaver for their contributions to today's show. Also, the practice audio from Mackenzie Tewksbury and Pat Jones. Tomorrow we'll have Mike Oresco, Tyler Bailey, and we'll also welcome in Steve Logan. We'll do it again tomorrow, 5 to 7. This has been Game Time on 94.3 The Game.
At Hastings Ford, we believe in tailgating right. The all-new F-150 with high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body and steel frame is 700 pounds lighter than previous generations. In a new F-150 from Hastings Ford, you could haul an additional 7,700 chicken wings at your next tailgate party. Ain't it great to tailgate? Visit HastingsFord.com for great deals on your new F-150.
Come in today for a test drive and get your key to satisfaction at Hastings Ford in Greenville.
Hey everybody, it's the best time of year for grilling out, and Acre Station is absolutely the best place to get your steaks, your pork chops, or anything that you want to cook out. Just make the short drive to Acre Station and find out why people say it's the best they have ever tasted. Why is that so? Acre Station processes their sausage and their bacon right there on the lot. And Acre Station partners with Lane Angus Farm in Gates County to bring beef straight to your table or to your grill. And it's a pleasant ride to Acre Station. They're conveniently located on Highway 32 between Washington and Plymouth. So come on down to Acre Station and plan to cook out tonight. It's the best time of year, and Acre Station has your steaks, your pork chops, or anything you want to cook out. Just make that short drive to Acre Station and find out why everybody says it's the best sausage and bacon you've ever eaten. Acre Station.
Do you need trash and recycling pickup at your home or business? PACCAR Disposal and Recycling wants you to throw away your trash, not your cash. PACCAR, the premier local trash and recycling company, offers service at your small business. You'll choose from 4 different size containers for all your trash and recycling needs. PACCAR also offers a wide variety of roll-off open-top containers and compaction equipment for construction sites. Call 252-974-1225. That's 974-1225. PACCAR, your trash is our responsibility.
Telco CDs earn higher interest rates, 60 months at 2.25%. Come invest money safely with Telco CDs. You'll love Telco's shorter CD terms, 48 months, 2%. Their CDs earn interest monthly. Get peace of mind. Their CDs are secured by NCUA. Park your CD here. Maximize your deposit. You can belong here. Telco is accepting memberships now. Let them be your credit union.
Here's Pirate coaches Scotty Montgomery, Jeff Lebo, and Cliff Godwin.
Hey guys, it's time for the 3rd annual Aces for Autism dinner and auction.
Eat great food provided by Rucker Johns and hear how Aces for Autism is impacting our community.
1 in 58 children in our state are diagnosed with autism. Let's fight for these children and their families.
Join us on Friday, October 14th. Buy your tickets today at acesforautismnc.com.
Together, we can make a difference.
Get your tickets online at acesforautismnc.com.
WRHD HD1 Farmville, Washington, Greenville. Game Time with Josh Graham. Weekdays from 5 to 7. 94.3 The Game and 94.3thegame.com.
The Pitt County American Legion Ag Fair is now open and here through September 25th. We're rocking on and celebrating 97 years. This year's Midway at the Pitt County Fairgrounds will feature 35 thrilling rides, great games, and a wide variety of food and beverage, even karaoke. Save time by purchasing wristbands online. Log on to pittfair.org to purchase tickets, wristbands, and get information on all the exciting attractions. Join us now through the 25th for the Pitt County American Legion Ag Fair.
At the Little Bank, we believe our old-fashioned customer service and modern-day technologies and conveniences come together to create the perfect banking experience for you. We want to be your community bank. We're dedicated to providing our banking customers the personal attention you deserve, all with no hidden fees and highly competitive rates. Go to thelittlebank.com to discover your local branch today. At the Little Bank, we want to know you. The Little Bank is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
There's something brand new for local swimmers. Aquaventure is now open at their Winterville campus just off Memorial Drive behind Badcock Furniture. Aquaventure is an indoor saltwater complex with an Olympic-sized swimming pool with 8 lanes. Aquaventure, the place for water sports, instruction, and aqua exercise. This fabulous new cutting-edge facility is now open. Join now by calling 341-9959 or visit Aquaventure at 214A Beacon Drive, just off Memorial Drive. Aquaventure, an exciting new water campus. Aquaventure is now open.
Dr. Thomas McIntosh at Carolina Vision Care announces 2 new optometrists have joined the practice. Dr. Scott McIntosh, an Eagle Scout who grew up in Greenville and attended Rose High and ECU, and Dr. Natalie McIntosh, originally from Arkansas. Both just graduated with honors from the Southern College of Optometry in Memphis. Scott was chosen to be a student ambassador and received an award from the staff for clinical excellence. Natalie was also an honor student and was honored with the Southwest Contact Lens Society Award. To schedule an appointment, call 752-4380.
Greenville's exclusive site for the medical community is greenvillevitalsigns.com. You can visit local area medical practices, watch videos, and take tours of local practices right here in Greenville. If you're looking for a new provider, make sure to visit greenvillevitalsigns.com and see what these local medical practices have to offer. Check out the virtual booths and get links to the practice websites. See the latest from Vidant Health and what they have to offer. With the resources to keep you connected to the medical community, make greenvillevitalsigns.com a part of your search when looking for medical care in Greenville.
Dad! Come on! Over here! Look at this, Dad! Over! Whoa.
The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, biking, fishing, or camping. Or do your own thing when you get there with family and friends. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.